on the road again. Our staff can't wait to get on the road again, and that's where they are today.
You are Locked On Bama, your daily podcast on the Alabama Crimson Tide, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Hey, everybody. Welcome back into Locked On Bama AHSA Radio Networks. Luke Robinson, that's me. Alabama internet legend Jimmy Stein, that's him. This episode is brought to you by FanDuel. We'll talk about FanDuel in just a little bit. I want to thank you every day for being here every day. Thank you, newbies, for being here today. And thanks, everybody, for making us your first listen every single day. You guys are the best. Jimmy, the staff is back at it after a day off doing some golfing event stuff yesterday. They are back at it today. There have been some updates, courtesy of BOL and other sites about Tank Jones and the like. We'll talk about that, but I wanted to start off with where they're visiting today. The staff will be seeing Xavier Griffin, who is a Wolf target from Gainesville, Georgia. By the way, Gainesville is sort of hopping right now. And they're also going to be in that area to see Dre Quinn, who is a 2026 guy, not quite as highly thought of. I mean, he's a 4-star / 3-star, 3 on 2 sites, 4 on 2 sites. But Xavier Griffin is the intriguing one. That is the one that Alabama is really pushing for. Now, he's committed to USC. Here's the thing about that. I've been saying this for a while, that USC gets a lot of commitments early, and then it feels like they decommit. Now, not all of them do, obviously, but it feels like they lose a lot of commits later in the process. I don't know what the story is there. I don't know what exactly is going on. I mean, I have my theories, but I'm just going to keep them to myself. And I think that Xavier Griffin is certainly in play for Alabama. Now, this is a guy who's borderline 5-star, if not 5-star.
He's a big-time player. He's a high-priority player. I'm with you, Luke. I think the USC, it's really hard to describe USC right now. Are they an ascending program or a descending program? Because it feels off the field recruiting-wise, they're ascending because their name's associated nationally with so many of these elite dudes. But then you look on the field and Lincoln Riley has gone from 11 wins down to 8 wins, down to 7 wins. I mean, they're descending on the field, ascending off the field. And I'm with you. I'm not sure that these big-time early commitments are going to stick. And that's why Alabama's recruiting Xavier Griffin, obviously hoping to flip him, hoping to see the day he is no longer committed to USC. At that point, he's obviously in play because here's a kid. Obviously, when you recruit in Georgia, right, the concern is Georgia. That's the concern, that this kid grew up a Georgia fan, the local pressure. Hey, a kid that's committed to USC is obviously open to leaving the state of Georgia. So should he decommit from USC, Alabama would clearly have a shot, and this is a national elite kid at a position Alabama would like to get an impactful player.
Yeah, and he's got a Justin Hill vibe about him to me. Like everybody thinks he's going to end up somewhere else, and I feel like he really could be at Alabama eventually. I really do. I believe
realistic's a good word.
Now, just FYI, you were talking about, I just looked it up because I was curious. You were talking about Lincoln Riley and ascending or descending. Maybe he's just sending, because I look at this particular schedule, and it's one of those for USC this year, and this isn't Locked On Trojan, so we're not going to go into it deep, but they've got some moderately tough games, like at Illinois, tough, at Oregon, tough, Michigan at home. I'm not sure what that's going to be yet. At Notre Dame, certainly tough. But they also, normally USC has another marquee non-con game outside of Notre Dame. And this year they don't. It's Georgia Southern and Missouri State. So, I mean, I look at this and go, they should be a 9 or 10 win team.
Really?
But I don't feel great about it. They should be, but I don't feel great about it. So that's what I'm saying.
I'll say they'll lose all 4 games that you started off with. I think they lose all 4.
Even the Michigan game?
Yes.
Okay. Wow. All right. Fair enough.
Now, I could be wrong. That's just my take. I don't know. Is USC as good at quarterback as they often are? I'm not sure they are. I mean, Lincoln Riley's usually got a pretty great quarterback. And I'm not sure that what's his name?
Well,
Jordan.
they did lose like Zachariah Branch to Georgia, who I absolutely loved.
Yeah,
But anyway,
he's gonna be a problem.
moving back to the staff on the road for Alabama, another guy they're going to see in the 2026 class is J.J. Finch out of Indianapolis or the Indianapolis area. And I love this kid.
Yeah,
And I think Alabama loves him. I have seen a lot of updates on this, which tells me the updates are coming from the staff to the various recruiting sites. So that tells me, yeah, they love him too. Now he's a high 3-star. I think he's going to be pushed up. He might even get a Bama bump. But J. Finch is a guy that Alabama really wants in this class.
Yeah, a guy that's the type that gets me really excited in that interior defensive line or interior pass rushers, and that's what I would project J.J. Finch to develop into. A guy that I would compare him to that I think he's really similar athletically and physically to is Jeremiah Beeman, who's doing well at Alabama. I know we haven't seen him on the field much yet. I think he is going to be a really impactful player. Speaking just between us, I would say it's going to be more like 2026 and 2025 for Beeman. But Beeman is on track to be a really good interior pass rusher. I see J.J. Finch as that type guy as he gains size, like Beeman has, long arms, natural pass rusher. Again, this is a guy that's going to be getting a lot bigger as he gets older. And Freddie Roach, I believe, is who's going to go to Indianapolis today to talk to J.J. Finch. That's a big one to me. I know he doesn't have that 5th star that gets so many people excited, but I see him as a high priority guy.
Yeah, I do too. Again, we're seeing a lot of updates on him. And again, it's not like the recruiting services pulled this out of thin air, like, oh, we think Alabama's going here. No, they have sources themselves. So if you're getting a lot of particular updates on one dude who may not even be, a national spotlight guy, it means that they're getting info on him. And so I feel good about him too. The other thing to talk about would be Tank Jones, because I know that they have prioritized him even more. This is a guy that, you and I right now believe he'd end up at Alabama. Things can change. I do believe he ends up at Alabama. Let's also remember his high school has been incredibly good to the Crimson Tide.
A.J. McCarron, Mark Barron, Ivan Matchett, Jake Coker.
Wasn't Jermaine Prayer from there?
No, Jermaine Prayer was a Davidson.
You're right.
Yeah.
You're right.
Yeah, Ivan Matchett was the running back from St. Paul's. It was in the same class, I think, as Prayer. But yeah, Mark Barron and A.J. McCarron and Jake Coker. St. Paul's always has dudes, and Tank Jones is one of the biggest recruits they've ever had there, which is saying a lot. He's recruited by everybody. He makes it clear. It's a great interview with Tank Jones by Bone on BOL. Everybody should check that out. It's really good. And the dad makes no bones, ironically, about the fact that they're Alabama fans. That's what they grew up rooting for. But look, NIL is such a game changer. I know it's easy for us older, established people who have careers and jobs to say, if you're an Alabama fan, how can you play for anybody but Alabama? It's easy. It's a business decision. It's a business decision. Take Alabama out of it, people. Everybody listening might have a favorite Major League Baseball team. Okay. And for me, it's the Braves. Luke hates the Braves. I like the Braves. Everybody listening, it might be the Braves. It might be the Reds, the Padres, the Blue Jays. I don't know. But what's it going to take for you to pull for another team? Probably money. And if you, some of you out there would stop rooting for the Mets and would turn into Pirates fans for $5,000. Now, what about $1 million? I mean, I'm just saying money changes everything. These kids have business, personal decisions to make. And I'll say this, I can't say it any more bluntly. I think Tank Jones is a big Alabama fan. I think if he signed with Alabama, he's going to get paid a competitive NIL amount, but it would be for less money than he would be offered by someone else. And I think that's a very difficult decision for a lot of kids. And Tank is not special in this way. Most highly recruited kids are in that position where, well, I have a favorite, but I made more money if I go play for somebody else. That's a tough thing for these families to ponder. So I think that's kind of the position that Tank will be in. Alabama's the favorite school. And there's a big draw for Alabama. And I think Alabama's going to be tough to beat. but there will be enticing offers out there, and not just from the Auburns. Tank is being recruited nationally, and how about North Carolina getting strongly in the mix for Tank? Is one of the words out there.
Right now, give you my thinking on North Carolina. Until Bill Belichick walks out of the tunnel the first time, I'm not going to worry about North Carolina in recruiting. They are so busy having 60-minute interviews, or not 60-minute, a Good Morning CBS or whatever it is, that blow up in their faces.
What do you put? They play their first game on Monday night, Labor Day night. That's the North Carolina opener against TCU, and it's North Carolina versus TCU. What's the over/under on camera shots of the girlfriend during the game?
And God help us all if Brent Musburger's on the call.
No, I'm telling you, I'll set the over/under at something like 9, and people will be upset that they show her that much. But at the same time, we're already talking about it 3 months in advance of the game. And who can name North Carolina and TCU's quarterbacks?
Nobody.
We're talking about the over/under on girlfriend shots. It'll be like 9.
Kevin Nealon used to do a great Brent Musburger impersonation when he was on the CBS football pregame show, and he would do he'd do his eyes like this, kind of for the way Musburger's eyes are, and he would keep his fingers like this on his eyes, and you go, "This is CBS." I can imagine right now Brent Musburger, Kevin Nealon doing Brent Musburger, and saying, "We're live, North Carolina, TCU," and I can barely keep my clothes on because I'm watching Bill Belichick's girlfriend. Oh my God, that's terrible. I hope Brett Musburger doesn't watch the show. He is still alive, right?
He is alive, not doing games.
Okay. All right. Well, he may be at the game. He may just be at the game, buy a ticket to sit next to her.
He's got one of those North Carolina foam fingers.
Insert your own jokes. Anyway, so Upwork, that's what we're going to talk about. Scaling your business requires the right expertise at the right time. With Upwork, you can find specialized freelancers in marketing, development, design, and more. Experts ready to help you take your business to the next level upwards. For Upwork, Upwork gives business flexibility by connecting them with top freelance talent across multiple industries, including IT, AI, web development, and marketing. Whether you need extra hands for a project or a long-term partner, Upwork makes hiring simple and affordable. Look, go check out Upwork today. Visit Upwork.com. That's UPWORK.com right now and post your job for free. To connect with top talent and grow your business today, if you want that business going to the next level, it's Upwork for you. All right, Jimmy, we're going to continue your very much appreciated walk-on profile, and we're going to go with Blake Dowd.
Well, one thing that's super interesting about Blake Dowd in terms of walk-on profile, I mean, even Charlie Potter, there's some discussion of whether Blake Dowd might be on scholarship. Now, I think when he initially committed to Alabama, it was reported that it was as a preferred walk-on, but Alabama does have a couple of available scholarships. He's a senior, so if you give him a scholarship, you get it right back. And he might be Alabama's starting punter this fall. It's very realistic that he's the punter. This spring, he was the first-team punter as the freshman. Alex Asparov, who they signed out of high school, was injured the entirety of the spring. So Blake Dowd was the first-team punter this spring. He is from the Colorado School of Mines, which me and Luke have referred to many times because that sounds like mimes, like the clowns, but it's actually mines as in coal mines. And actually that's a good team. They actually played for the Division II National Championship. I looked up a couple things about the Colorado School of Mines. They're actually a pretty strong Division II. That's a lower division than FCS. It's one lower than the FCS. And they played for the national championship a couple years ago. Blake has been a 2-year starter, 4-year player at Colorado School of Mines. He started as a sophomore and a junior. He was all conference. As a matter of fact, he was his conference's special teams player of the year. So this was not only the best punter in his conference, He was the best special teams player, period, in his conference. The numbers are crazy good, but it's Colorado, and as we all know, the air and it's easier to launch balls a long way in that Colorado air, and I think that may have something to do with his numbers. Like I noticed in college, he averaged something like 47 yards a punt, which is outstanding. In high school, he averaged 35 yards a punt, which is not great. That's not going to get you recruited at the Division I level. But most importantly, how did Blake do this spring? Inconsistent. That's the word you're going to get when you talk to people around the program, people that have seen him. Hey, when he gets hold of it, it's nice. Doesn't always happen though. Doesn't always happen. And when you're like, how can punting be any different if he was an all-American and all-conference guy where he was? How is punting any different? Well, it is different. And this is why things happen much faster. You've got to get rid of the ball quicker. You have faster athletes that are coming to block punts. You've got to get rid of the ball quicker. Even worse, the guys that will now be returning his punts are future NFL players. There is a really, 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 really good bet. He has never once in his life in high school or at the Colorado School of Mines punted the ball to a guy who's going to catch the ball and then one day play at the NFL. But in the SEC, he'll face that every week. So you've got to get higher. The punts have to be higher in the SEC, because if you line drive punts in this league, the dude is standing in the end zone about 9 seconds later. So get off quicker, higher. It is a more demanding thing. The game changes a little bit in this league. So we'll see whether Blake Dowd is a starter or not. I would say right now, I think there's a 60% chance I would give the job to the freshman, Alex Asperov. But we'll see, because Blake Dowd, as we speak, he was the #1 punter this spring. Hey, and Luke, when he gets hold of it, it's pretty good. Oh, by the way, Colorado School of Mines, their nickname. Any guesses?
I just looked it up. It's the Ore Diggers.
Or you just looked it up. Okay, the Ore Diggers. Yeah. And
I'm not going to pretend like I.
I didn't know it either. I looked it up. O-R-E. O-R-E. Diggers. Ore Diggers.
Ore Diggers. And, being over here at Robinson Iron, I appreciate them. We need them. But I'm looking at their schedule, and it is just who's not.
Yeah, I bet you haven't heard of most of the schools.
Well, West Texas A&M, Washburn, Chadron State, Black Hills State, Colorado Mesa, South Dakota Mines. So there is a mines rivalry.
I told you, was
My
I correct?
Jades beat your Rubies.
Was I correct
Adam
in saying
State,
that he's never punted the ball to a returner that's going to play in the NFL? I was not kidding.
Let me get through these. Adams State, Western Colorado, New Mexico Highlands, Colorado State Pueblo, and then they finish up with their arch rival, Fort Lewis.
I told you, I have heard of less than half of those schools.
Oh, yeah, I've clearly looked. And again, every one of those teams has football players that could all destroy me. So I'm not making fun of them necessarily. I'm making fun of the fact that I've followed college football all my life, and I've never heard of half these teams.
Yeah, Division II. That's why it's a massive difference in punting at that level to punting at this level. You think it's the same thing. It's not. You got to get rid of the ball much quicker, and your punt has to have more hang time, because line drive punts in the SEC are death. So he's got to be more consistent at the hang time, the good hang time punts.
There's so many jokes. I'm having overload. All right, let's talk a little FanDuel. The NBA playoffs are in full swing. Hey, man, we had some more good ones last night. The road teams just keep winning. That Indiana game was bananas.
6 in a row.
Yeah. And every night delivers highlight-worthy performances, major momentum shifts, and can't-miss moments. It is awesome. FanDuel makes it easy to stay in the game, too, before the tip-off and live. With player props, performance trends, and same-game parlays, fans have way more options than ever to play smart and to win big. Look, there are a lot of players showing up in the biggest moments. How about Tyrese Halliburton last night? Good Lord, that was just amazing what he did. And how could like a $200 bonus in bets add to the excitement if your first $5 bet hits? I would say a lot. New to FanDuel, it's the perfect time to sign up. Head to FanDuel.com and place your first $5 bet. If it wins, you get that 200 in bonus bets I just mentioned. Make every moment more with FanDuel, official sports betting partner of, tell them, Jimmy.
The NBA.
A couple of just odd and end things here. First of all, there's going to be a Madden movie about John Madden, and it's going to star Nicolas Cage as John Madden. It was initially going to be Will Ferrell, then it was going to be somebody else, and then it was going to, and then now it's Nicolas Cage, and it was going to be Tom Hanks as Al Davis. Now it's going to be Christian Bale. I cannot wait. Please, somebody let me know who's going to be playing Kenny Stabler. That's all I want to know. That's the Alabama tie-in, and whoever that is, I mean, that's going to be awesome. The role of a lifetime is playing Kenny Stabler.
Johnny Manziel.
Hugh Jackman was going to play. Hugh Jackman is John. Have they ever seen John Madden?
I'm not sure how Nicolas Cage is going to play John Madden. I mean, they ought to have that guy on, the guys that do the professional. There's the guy in the NFL, Caliendo.
He'd be great. Yeah, he'd be great. But
he can certainly nail the voice. But I don't know. I'm interested because it's football and it's the NFL and John Madden, particularly for fans that are our age or older. John Madden was sort of the soundtrack of every Sunday afternoon for us for decades. And
amazing.
And then the kids know him today from the video game. So I'm looking, but I'm confused as to the casting. But I know this: Nicolas Cage is underrated as an actor, and Christian Bale, arguably the best actor in the world today.
And I don't like this guy too much. I really don't. I don't really love Jack Black. He just gets on my nerves a little bit for some reason. He's funny at times, but if he didn't weigh 1,700 pounds right now, he'd be a perfect Kenny Stabler, I think.
Really?
Like, he'd be a good Kenny Stabler. I think he could pull that role off. I don't know why he popped into my head. Okay, a couple other things. First of all, how about softball getting a win over Auburn yesterday? They play South Kakalaki today. Look, it's always fun when you beat Auburn specifically. So, I mean, that was nice. I mean, we've got some good young talent. The freshman, is it the shortstop that?
She's not a freshman. She's a transfer. They called her a freshman on the broadcast one time. I caught them doing that, but no, she's a transfer from Mississippi State. And
they did call her a freshman.
They called her a freshman. Yeah, she's a transfer from Mississippi State.
She's not a senior, is she?
She's a junior.
Okay, good. So she can come back.
She'll be back next year. The only players they're losing to graduation that's going to hurt is Callie Havlin, the second baseman, and Brooke Elstead, the third baseman. They'll get everybody else back. They'll lose a couple pitchers, but Brisky will be back, and she's really good. I know it's been disappointing for some Alabama fans because we're used to having Montana Fouts, who was replaced by Caleb Beaver, who was fantastic. Now Brisky's the ace. She hadn't been as good as Fouts and Beaver, so people say, oh. But the fact of the matter is, I looked it up yesterday, only 3 pitchers in the SEC have pitched more innings than Brisky and have a lower ERA. So I would say she's probably the 4th or 5th best starting pitcher in the SEC. That makes you really good. I just know Alabama fans are used to having Fouts, and Jocelyn's just not quite that good. But tell you what, she dang sure beat Auburn yesterday.
Then I wanted to bring up Nate Oates' comments. Nate Oates was talking about the basketball team. First of all, I thought it was interesting that he said, hey, I fully expect LeBaron Fallon to remain in the draft. Now, I think that is probably the case.
That's what me and you have been predicting.
We have predicted it. I will say this. I think there's a better chance that he comes back than people think. But it's like it versus a 2% chance is a 4% chance. And so I'm not counting on it. I did see a mock draft recently that had Phylon and Tahad Pettiford going late in the first. And if that's the case, I would certainly expect both of them to remain in the draft. But here's hoping that LeBaron does decide to return. But he did mention this. Nate Oates said this. He expects this to be the best shooting team he's ever had. He said everybody that we put on the floor can shoot. Now, that has not been the case, even in some of these great teams that we've had. I mean, Amori just couldn't shoot outside of 2 feet, It just wasn't his thing. Jared Stevenson missed his first 22 threes or 21 threes this year. Now, he ended up sort of making it look a little better towards the end, but it wasn't pretty. Even Philon, now he had a lull in there, but he got better, but he had some bad slumps. Even Mark Sears had some slumps, to be honest with you. So I think this team saying that it's going to be the best shooting team is great news. I think the one thing everybody would love to hear is, hey, we're going to really pick it up on defense too, and that's what worries me.
Yeah, I think people are being too negative about this team, and I think it's because assuming Philon doesn't come back, and I don't believe that he will, but hopefully he will. Like Luke said, there is a chance. There is a chance, but I'm guessing Philon stays in the draft, and Oates seems to indicate that. I think what people look at this roster and they think it's not good is because they do lack a bona fide megastar. There's no megastar. I mean, Mark Sears was a first-team All-American, and before that, there was Brandon Miller. And there doesn't appear to be that guy. And I think that's the main reason people look at the roster and go, okay, where's the dude? But I look at the roster and I see 11 good basketball players that will all help the team, all provide minutes, and they're shooters. Now, two things. Will they play good enough defense? And will there be some real team chemistry? If the answers to both of those questions are yes, I fully expect to see Alabama right back in the same mix, contending to win the SEC, getting to the Sweet 16 or Elite Eight with the chance to win in advance. I see them being a good team, and there's the emphasis this year to me, Luke. Team. We've had some stars in the last couple of editions, whether it was Brandon and before that Herb, and now Mark Sears and the recent two teams, but this would be more of a team with everyone contributing every night. That's the only way to get it done.
And I wanted to throw this in there. I had it second on the list, and then we just sort of we talked over it. The Florida State.
Okay.
I saw something on a message board for Alabama, and it talked about Florida State's offensive line. And so I went to their board. They are worried to death about their offensive line. They are not very optimistic after spring about Florida State's offensive line.
A lot of injuries this spring.
A lot of injuries. It wasn't great last year to begin with. Now they also had a quarterback that they just didn't have a quarterback that could really make things work. He just couldn't. And I hate to say that about him, but it's true. And then so maybe their offensive line looked worse because of their quarterback play. But now if their offensive line's still looking bad in the spring, and I know they had some injuries, boy, I feel a lot better about that game. Now, look, Alabama's a 10, 11-point favorite anyway. We should win that game anyway. But it still is an ACC team. It's a Power 4 school that has a history that will certainly love to put a notch in their bedpost by beating Alabama.
It's going to be a heck of an environment. It will be the newly expanded Doak Campbell Stadium.
Are you going?
No. As of right now, no.
I'm going.
You are?
Yeah.
It'll be a spear, flaming spear in the ground from the horse. Well, the horse doesn't actually throw the spear, I don't believe. I think they have a.
That would be awesome.
That would be not sign. I would go if that was going to be the case. But no, it'll be a heck of an environment in a good team. But that offensive line is a bit of a mess. So much of a mess for those that don't know. They actually signed 5 transfers they expect to start. They think that's how their offensive line is changing from last year to this year. 5 transfers from the portal are the anticipated starters. Now, a lot of those guys were hurt this spring, and some maybe have underperformed, and they do worry that it's an absolute mess. But boy, total offensive transformation. You can throw out last year's film on Florida State, the 2024 Florida State offense with DJ Uiagalelei at quarterback. You just throw it out. It won't look anything like that. 5 transfers on the offensive line. You're bringing in a quarterback who's an option kid from Boston College. Then you're hiring Gus Malzahn, who's a spread option guru. They're changing the offense. They've changed the personnel. 5 new linemen. The wide receivers are household names. We know them as Alabama fans really well, but they're brand new. Deuce Robinson, transfer from USC. Squirrel White, transfer from Tennessee. So that'll be probably their top 2 receivers, Deuce Robinson and Squirrel White. I mean, this is a dramatically different Florida State offense, and it's going to be difficult to prepare for her because, again, it's not like you can just pop in tape of last year's FSU and prepare your defense. And the environment is going to be, I mean, to be honest, it's an SEC road environment. That's exactly what
My
that is.
question to you, Jimmy, do you think this will be okay? So Lee Corso is retiring. He's going to do one more game day, apparently. Do you think it'll be Bama, Florida State? I kind of lean that way, even though, frankly, Clemson LSU is probably a bigger game.
I think, and I don't know this. I don't know this. I think they're going to surprise people a little bit and do Ohio State, Texas, and I think people don't expect that because that's definitely going to be the big noon kickoff game. I mean, and that's going to be on another network.
Yeah.
And sometimes ESPN is slow to want to promote a game that's going to be played on another network. That's completely understandable. But it's Corso's last game. It is the game of the day. It could be 1 versus 2, might be more likely 1 versus 3, but it could be a 1-2. And Corso's first ever game when he did the mascot headgear was Columbus, Ohio, and Brutus was the choice, and Texas with Arch Manning, and I think it's going to be Texas, Ohio State. I do, although.
But he did go to Florida State.
He did go to Florida State. Alabama, Florida State's a possibility. LSU, Clemson is a real possibility too.
All right, that's going to do it for today's pod. We'll be back tomorrow with more. Until then, roll tide, everybody.
Roll tide.